Hey, it's your Wisconsin Wine Guy. I want to thank you for joining me here in this on-demand style tasting with wines from Wine Insiders of wineinsiders.com. And if you're new here, let me explain to you how this works. Now, if you saw the intro video, you notice I had 6 wines in front of me then. So I take those wines, I break them down in sets of 2s. And there's a link in each video where you can go and purchase these wines. As long as the wines are in stock on Wine Insiders, you can come back and replay this video and do this wine tasting again and again, but maybe start inviting some friends to do it with you. So you have complete control over this video and how it goes. Let's say, for example, we get to a point and I say something you didn't quite hear it. Guess what? You can rewind and play it again. And something else I would do as I go through each step, we're going to be reviewing these wines also, going through the processes of how to taste wine, and then doing my infamous thumb review at the end of each video or each tasting experience, and we can see how we compare on the notes. So now I'll be giving the instructions inside the video, and those instructions will be, for example, if I'm doing the look phase, I'll say, now here's where you can stop the video and talk about it amongst your group if you're tasting, and when you come back you'll just pick up where we left off. But when you stop the video, I'm going to keep going, right? So you can just, when you restart your video, it'll pick up where you left off and you'll watch me keep going, right? You got that? So very simple, lots of fun. So let's get started. Again, as I said to you, these are wines by compliments of Wine Insiders of wineinsiders.com. I had the privilege of sampling and scoring some of their wines, and now I've decided to do something different with that and doing a on-demand style tasting, which includes a review that you can compare your notes with my own. Now, the wines we're going to be tasting, there are 6 wines in this set, but the wines we're going to be tasting are the Martha Stewart holiday selections, right? So, yes, you're right. You got it right. Yours truly, Martha Stewart. So we're going to see how our palates matches up to Martha Stewart's palate. So to get started with my supplies, I have my 2 wine glasses. I'm going to be tasting 2 wines. Now, any wine glasses would do, even if you don't have a stem. I prefer using these. I have my tasting mat. And my tasting mat goes through the how to taste wine process, so it keeps a reminder for me, because sometimes after a few sips of wine, you can forget some of those processes, right? And I'm going to go through that with you. I have my wines, my corkscrew to get them open. I have my Haley's corker. That link is down below if you don't have these. These are great for preserving and saving your wines, you know, and you never have to take them out of the bottle, because sometimes you can't get that cork back in the bottle. And if I have my water, let me take a sip right now. Always remember to stay hydrated. I got my note sheet, and I think I'm ready to go. So now, we're going to be sampling and going through the process with 2 wines. All of our wines, the 6 wines we're going to be doing, are all sourced from California. The wines are produced and made in California. And we're going to be doing 2 from California are white. It's going to be from Stone and Glass. It's going to be a 2019 Chardonnay from California. All right, wow. You know, I mean, it's always great. I don't know if you've ever been to Wine Insiders website on wineinsiders.com, but there's quite a few wines there from all over the world. I'd recommend you give it a look and check it out and try some of the wines. I mean, I have yet to be disappointed by any of the wines. I mean, they make for great everyday drinking wines, and also a great opportunity for you to explore different wines also at a reasonable price, right? You can beat that. And our next one we're going to be tasting is going to be the El Portal or Portal Vineyard Select. This is going to be the Zinfandel. All right, we're going to be doing the Zinfandel on this one here. Let's get that open. So 1 white, 1 red in each of the videos, and I'm excited. So at this part here, if you don't already have your wines open, you can get your wines open. Hopefully your white wine is chilled. Now I have my Chardonnay slightly chilled. I don't have it ice cold. I have it slightly chilled, just right in the middle, because if it's a full-bodied Chardonnay, I don't want the flavors to be deadened by it being so cold, okay? But if it's a, wow, isn't that beautiful? Take a look at that. Take a look at that cork. If it's not a full body, when I say by full body, what I'm meaning is that it's like very rich tasting, okay? I don't want the Chardonnay to be cold if it's very rich tasting, you know? Not necessarily buttery, but just nice and rich and full of flavor and style. But if it's not that, it's cold enough that it's gonna bring out the crisp qualities and fresh fruit qualities. Ah, that smells, wow. Both of these corks smell good. So let's do that where we're at it, all right? So you saw me take the cork out, smell the cork. What are you smelling for, Syrah? Because it happens in a restaurant. What I'm smelling for is is this going to smell fresh, or it's going to have a little funky smell coming out of it. You know, maybe it's an older wine that's been sitting in the bottle for a while. Doesn't necessarily mean that the wine is bad, but I want to make sure that there is no funkiness or funky parties going on the corks, right? So you want to check that out. That's why I smell the cork. You can see when we first took this cork out how deep red it was, and now it's starting to lighten up because the air, right? So wines are open. Haley's corkers are in. Let's get our pours going. Pouring the white. And then we're going to do the tasting process, right? So I pour about 2 ounces, maybe 2.5 ounces in each glass. If your glasses are bigger, you know, you can pour maybe a little bit more. But my reason, because my glasses are narrow, and believe it or not, these glasses are 10.5 ounces. But because my glasses are narrow, I want to have some room for the swirling of the wine to aerate the wine, right? All right, so that's important. So now, let's do the process here. We're going to start first with our white wine. Now, the consensus goes white before red, dry before sweet, with some exceptions. And if you followed in my videos, you heard about some of those exceptions when it comes to certain grapes or certain styles of wine. Okay? So now we're going to look at the wine. And in the look phase, we're looking to see, just like when we smell, looking to see, are there any off visuals, all right? The visual analysis, or anything off in the way that wine looks. You know, you can put it up to your light above, set it on your white background, which I have my white background here. Look down in the wine, look down inside the glass, you know, and we're looking for if there's any nasty film, bacteria film, or floaties inside of the wine. You check that out. Now, here's where you can stop the video and you can go through and look at your wine with your friends or just with yourself. When you come back, I'll be going further into the next step. All right? I'll see when you get back. So now, we're looking at the wine, and I'm looking at my wine. It's like, wow, you know, clear, all right? It has a nice brilliance to it. Has a kind of like golden or greenish hues to it. You know, almost the color of this bottle, right? Almost, but a little bit lighter. You know, so it has greenish hues to it. You know, it starts off being light, and it goes into, so like light clear, then comes down into golden color. So not a whole lot of huge extraction. You know, we're talking in wine, what it says, bottled or vented in San Martin. So we're going, you know, up towards San Francisco area, San Jose, that area, you know, where it's a lot cooler, okay? So we're not going to have like deep extraction, deep ripeness, you know, but it's going to have a nice ripeness to it, all right? So that would be our white wine. So what does it look like to you? Notice anything odd and unusual in your wine glass? So I'm going to move on to the next step, you know, in this process. That next step is going to be the smell. We're going to do the same thing with red, but by going through it slowly with the white, we can go through it faster when we get to the red, right? So now we're doing the smell. So the smell is like two steps here. First step is going to be a swirl, okay? What are we doing when we're swirling? If you can swirl the glass in your hand, maybe you have one of those tumblers, just hold it and swirl it. I'll do this, pretend it's a tumbler. And you hold it from the bottom, just swirl it clockwise or counterclockwise. If you have a stem, but you're not good at swirling the glass in your hand, sit it on the base, sit it on the table, hold it by the base, and then just swirl. Now be careful you don't swirl too much that the wine begins to splash all over the rim of the glass, right? I've done that many times. So what are we doing here? When we're swirling, we are aerating the wine. We want to release the wine's esters. I picked that up from someone many years ago. It was so funny. But you're releasing the wine's esters, its aroma, its bouquet. So when we stick our nose in and we smell. Now for me, that process, again, is a couple of steps. Well, I can smell that wine here. Can you smell yours? After just aerating it and your nose isn't in it, but you just, the aroma of the wine is just everywhere. Isn't that great? Wow, I can't wait to stick my nose inside. So here's what I do. My first smell is going to be a quick one. All right, that's the intro. that sets everything up, because maybe I'm smelling something else, while I'm doing this. I want to focus in on the wine. So I take that first inhale, quick one, and now my brain is registering, okay, this is the focus, this is where we're going, all right? Now, in the second, I go stick my nose in, tilt the glass, and I inhale slowly with a like 5 to 8 second count, just very slowly. Here we go. Oh, wow. Now, for me, here's what happens. You get like a initial smell, you get a mid smell, then you get a finished smell, right? Very simple, because there's going to be different things that the deeper you go when smelling, the more that you're going to pick up in this wine, all right? So now, you're going to go through and smell your wine at 2-step. First, quick. Second, 5, 8 seconds, and you can smell over and over again. Discuss it amongst your friends. Write down your nose what you smell. When you return, and see how your nose compare with mine. I'm just going to keep going, right? So you're going to get back. So now, smelling. Wow, I mean, that slow, deep phase, it comes in with citrus. Then it rolls into, so it's citrus rolling into kind of like a richness, not butter, but just like almost like a creaminess, like a richness to it. Subtle floral notes, like almost sweet floral notes. And then there's, I'm going to go between pear and probably a gala apple. That's what I get. What did you get? Wow, isn't that cool? So so that says that we had the look phase, we had the smell phase, and I told you what I smelled. How did your nose compare? I mean, really, this is a very, very nice nose in this wine. It's making my mouth water. Wow, so swirl and sniff, swirl and sniff. Now, the moment of truth, the taste. I mean, taste is very important. I always say that there's 2 parts of the wine tasting process that are very, very key, very important. One is the smell. No one knows what the nose knows because the nose knows. If the nose isn't connecting, you got to be suspect on that taste phase, right? So now the second most important thing I consider is the taste, because what I smelled should be similar to what I'm going to taste, plus sometimes more, right? Right? Here we go. So here's what I do in my tasting. Again, 2 steps. My first initial step is going to be a complete mouth rinse of the wine. Right? Take a little bit of wine in your mouth, do a complete mouth rinse. Count about 8 to 10 seconds of a complete mouth rinse. Get it all over, right? And then after that, I do an actual sip of the wine. That's when I begin to taste. But key thing in that first rinse is I'm tasting for acidity. Is the wine flat, or is it going to be acidity, meaning making my mouth water? I want a lively wine, right? So 2-step process. Now you can pause the video and you can do that. Well, before you pause, let's do this step, the first sip together, all right? Let's do it together. Okay. You call it. Is your mouth watering? Is my mouth watering? My mouth is watering. Wow. Now, it's a nice blend of acidity. I've had some wines where the saliva is just, I'm just drooling because the acidity is so crisp. But this has a nice, pleasant acidity. Your mouth is watering, but it has a nice feel to it overall, in the overall package. So what did you get? Did your mouth water? If not, try it again, okay? Now, here's where you can pause the video and you can take your second taste or your third taste and write down your notes. On your return, you're going to see how your notes compares to mine, all right? I see when you get back. I'm going to keep going. All right, so now that I did that initial mouth rinse, felt the acidity, all I taste is the wine. And sometimes you may have to do it twice, depending on what you had. So hopefully you didn't brush your teeth or had a mint before you did this, right? There we go. And sometimes different foods will have an effect. I'm going to do my second taste. You notice how I kind of like chew the wine and slosh it around? So I'm trying to get every itch every piece of my mouth to taste that wine, and then I write my notes down. This is the thinking process, right? Kind of fun. You may have to taste it 2 times. Okay, I have my notes written down, so I'll go first. Whenever I sit on the nose, I tasted citrus, I tasted apple, and then I went specific like a gala apple. Okay, I'm still gonna go with that, but then I'm gonna also add pear to it on the taste. Even though the nose for me had a little bit more of an apple nose to it, the taste is more pear to me. You know, I still get that citrus. Citrus, you know, brings in acidity. That citrus comes in and it gives that nice completeness and nice mouthfeel to it. But then there was something else. There's a nice all-around suppleness to the wine. You know, I almost want to say that there could be some oak aging to this, but not a lot. You know, and I would probably go with French oak over American. I would probably go, but I could be wrong. But this is what I taste. All right, but it's very subtle, which is nice. Just add a little bit more structure to it. It has a nice richness to it. Alcohol in this is 13% alcohol. All right, 2019 is the vintage. Now, overall, for me, it's light. There's this citrus coming in, more like lemon. It's light. It's clean. It's sort of refreshing. Now, again, I didn't thoroughly chill mine. Imagine if it was really chilled and it'd be more crisp. I had like a nice neutral chill on this wine here. And so I think that is really nice. All right. So now after the taste, it's spit or swallow. I always swallow, right? So, but you can spit because depending on how much wine you're going to be drinking. So now we go to the think phase, right? We kind of, the think phase for us is going to be the grading, all right? So you write down your grade on your paper, all right? And when you do that, we're going to now transition it into the red wine, all right? So write down how you're going to grade this wine, and the grading system is quite simple. Thumbs up, recommend 3/4. You know what? I would drink this if I had this at a party and I like it. I would buy bottles and share it with my friends. Halfway, not so much for me. Write down the notes why it doesn't work for your palate. Thumbs down, that's an easy one. And then sometimes there's a double thumbs up, meaning the wine is exceptional. So I'm going to pour a little bit more wine here. And then I'm going to move on to the red. Now we all know the tasting process, so we're not going to go through it slowly. So now, first step, the look, okay? Have your light above or down below. We're looking at the wine. All right, we're going to have like a garnet down to ruby and purple. You know, I mean, that's a beautiful looking wine. So the grapes that I found on this wine, also this wine is made in Northern California. So this wine is going to be a blend of Zinfandel, old vine Zinfandel, no, just regular Zinfandel, Merlot, and Syrah. Look at my notes. Zinfandel, Merlot, and Syrah. Going to be the 3 grapes here. So it's going to be like a party in the bottle. I don't know if you've ever tasted a Zinfandel by itself, a Merlot by itself, and a Syrah by itself, meaning there's no other grapes blended. If you tasted those by themselves, let's see if you can pick out the nuances of each of those grapes, right? So now, Zinfandel. Let's talk about Zinfandel a little bit. When we talk about Zinfandel, I think about the 90s and the early 2000s, you know, when Zinfandel was just like, oh my God, Zinfandel, 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 you know, and the Zinfandels were like big and bold and jammy, right? Dry raisin or jammy, sometimes candy tasting, and sometimes a little kiss of sweetness to it. But they were bold. When I say bold, I'm talking very lush, very full on your mouth. Also coming in at 15% alcohol. I think I had 16% alcohol in my time. But these were big wines, you know, from Zinfandel. But Zinfandel has been a part of California's history for a long time. You know, you can find Zinfandels around. There's quite a bit of old vine Zinfandels in California. So I'm curious how this is going to be. Is it going to fall in the category? Well, it's a blend now, but is it going to fall in the category with the Zinfandel? Is it going to dominate the blend, or is it going to play nice with the two grapes? But that brings us to Syrah. Now, Syrah also is a deep, rich, full, with subtle spice of peppery notes to it, but very dense and full with fruit, just like the Zinfandel. How are those two going to play together? Who's going to dominate? But then that Merlot is supposed to come in and just tame all that down and bring a neutral balance to it all, right? We're going to find out. So this is going to be a 2020 El Portal blend, red blend of Zinfandel, Merlot, and Syrah. We did the look. Now we're going to do the swirl so we can do our smell. Here's where you can pause. And you can write down your notes when you come back. You'll hear what I had to say about it. All right? Here we go. Whoa. Wow. Wow. I mean, it's like there's a grapiness that exists here, So you have the Zinfandel and the Syrah battling out here for the grapiness, the essence of the grape. I always say, if you can't smell grape, then what's the point? It is a grape. So you should smell that, right? You should smell the fruit. But we got a lot going on here as far as in the nose, as far as the aroma and the bouquet or the aroma. We have dark fruits. We have plum. We have dried cherry. Wow, a currant. Ooh. But then you have that little like pepper, white pepper nose to it. It could be attributed to the barrel aging. Wow, almost cedar pepper spice to it. All right, now that's nice. Now, what did you come up with? Right? Did you come close to that? Now, here we go with and if you didn't, that's okay. Wine is subjective. We're all going to smell and taste something different. And now we're going to do the taste. So we have two-step. First is the sip and the rinse. Second is the taste and write down your notes. So here's where you can pause. And when you return, we can compare notes. You compare your notes you wrote down with what I'm about to say. See you when you get back. Here we go. All right, so I got my notes written down. You're back. Let's talk about it. So now, remember how I described Zinfandel and described Syrah, okay? And those grapes were typically, now again, we're talking, if we're in Southern California, we got more heat, it's going to be hotter, it's going to be more, ripeness, more fruit extraction versus, going up north, close to San Francisco, where it's a little bit cooler, especially if it's near the coast. So it's not going to be, we're talking alcohol at 13%, so it's not going to be that big, bold, crazy jam Zinfandel, but of course it's a blend, right? So we can kind of not expect that. But on the taste, what I got was, it was light, fruity, not complex, just an easy drinking type of red wine, red blend. So it's not going to be, a party stopper or a show stopper. It's not going to be anything like that, but just a good everyday, drinking kind of Zinfandel. But what I do get at the finish, okay, I have that plum taste, okay, kicking in from the Merlot and possibly a little bit from the Zinfandel. So you get that plum taste, totally a plum. When was the last time you had a plum, right? But I can taste it. But again, just a simple drinking kind of a wine, You know, I expected a powerhouse. This is me. I expected a powerhouse. You know, aside from the alcohol, I expected a powerhouse of flavor and complexity. You know, coming from this wine, but it's not that, right? Okay. Now, the moment of truth. We come to the part where we do our grading system. So before I give you a grade, I hope you enjoyed it thus far. These are 2 of the 6 wines, compliments of WineInsiders.com. These are part of the Martha Stewart holiday gift set, our holiday set, our holiday selection. Okay, you can find that in the. You click on the link below. You can go purchase these wines and go through this tasting alone, or go through this tasting with your friends. So one more taste round, and then I'll give you what I thought of these wines. I'm going to go and do a rinse to the taste of the red. Again, remember, thumbs up, 3/4, halfway, and thumbs down. All right, Martha, this is all on you. Going back to the Chardonnay, after that Zinfandel, wow. Whoa, nice. Let's come back here. I mean, the acidity is just okay here. Okay. All right, so here we go. For the 2019 Stone and Glass Chardonnay, I'm giving this a thumbs up. You know, and I tell you, it was going to be graded a little bit less until I came back to it after the Zinfandel. It held its own. I mean, it was fact, it was even more complex. It was even more filling with flavor. It was even more mouth filling, you know, to me. So the Stone Glass, even the nose, the Stone Glass Chardonnay, it's going to be a thumbs up. I mean, this is a really nice. I mean, it has those elements that it's going to be big and bold, but on the palate, for me, it's very, very nice and elegant. Wow. I love the way the flavor. So imagine if this was with food, what would have happened? I just had it with the Zinfandel. The blend. Excuse me, the blend, rather. So now, with the El Porto, all right, give it one more taste. Now, for the El Porto, I'm not feeling it. Okay? I think it's an easy drinking wine. I think it's a great everyday wine. If you're looking for complexity, this isn't the wine. If you're looking for something that you could just pour, you know, every day, or pour for your friends, or have something with snacks, this is the wine. Okay? I think the way it's put together is nice. Okay? But I just expected more. So, the El Porto, I'm going to go in between halfway and 3/4. Okay? I'm not going to cancel it out. I'm not going to say, hey, I'm jumping on the party. I'm going to go in between. And I'll tell you why I'm going in between. I'm going in between because I'm talking to Zinfandel, I'm talking to Merlot, I'm talking to Syrah. You know, I wanted more depth to it. It doesn't have to be overly complex, but I wanted more depth to it. And it didn't do that for me. But it is a good everyday drinking wine. So there you have it. What did you come up with? How did it compare? You know what? And again, these are just my opinion. So the Stone and Glass 2019 Chardonnay got a thumbs up. Really digging that wine. The El Porto red wine blend of the Zinfandel, Merlot, and Syrah gets in between 3/4 and a half. Right? So I'll see you next time when we do part 2 in this series of Martha Stewart's Holiday Selections. And it's your Wisconsin wine guy telling you, as always, let your palate be the guide when selecting your wines. And I'll see you in part 2. Ciao!